Well, let's see. The temperature is at operating temperature. The AC is on. The battery is charged. Plenty of fuel. Oil pressure's good. Engine's running. But I am fucked, but we are fucking roasting in this damn truck. Signing off. Ready? Hello, YouTube. Hello, McTell. Hello, Red Pill. This is Red Pill on the Wind. And welcome to the next section installment of Meat Eating Cultist. Now, I just sent Baron Yam the link. He should be in any minute now. But right now, I'm enjoying some fried chicken, some fried chicken. Because I'm a meat eating cultist, right? I just finished off the Cajun wings. After presuming a seance, thanking our meat-loving Lord, thanking our meat-loving Lord. And Savior, Cthulhu. May his dark reign last 1,000 years.
May who now? What now?
Yeah, I'm being a meat eating cultist.
Oh yeah, I mean that's who you are. That's what MGTOW has turned into is a bunch of meat eating cultists, apparently.
Yep. Yep.
And yeah, how do you feel about being called that?
Well, I had to make sure that my Lord and Savior Cthulhu had to get his praise onto this bountiful meal of carcass, a bird carcass.
I can get conspiracy in like the government, but in your food, come on. In 5G towers, in anything you can really like throw at the wall, it gets to be kind of like a lot.
But
just the constant. You and I could sit here forever and just talk about how they're screwing us over and stuff. I don't think it's very helpful to do.
Right. Basically,
I like action plans. I like deciding like it's worth it or not to sit here and talk about something. If it's like you take a couple episodes and you feel like and you realize, oh, this is not really going anywhere, it's okay to move on.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like there's no point in just staying stubbornly connected to one subject, no matter how much it's like connected to your personal health or your family or finances or whatever. You gotta adapt and you have to move on and talk about different stuff.
Right. Now, thing is, he said only 4 people know the truth, know what happened, right?
Yeah, you, me, Tico, and Billy or something like that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Tico's already said his piece, right?
Yeah.
I said my piece. I just figured that this is a reminder. So what do you think of what happened? Yeah.
Oh, I think he just overreacted to something, and I didn't apologize because I didn't think I was in the wrong. And then he took that as meaning that I don't know what it is that he thinks that he got made a caricature of or was mocked or anything. People have their beliefs. It's not about, I guess, I don't really critique people's beliefs so much as I critique their attitudes. Like with having those beliefs, like you and I could have the same belief, but our attitude is what determines where we are. Like you and I could both get mugged by somebody, and then depending on our attitude, we'll either move on from it or we'll become a victim from that point on and be like, oh, I can't because when I walked outside that one time I got mugged. It's all a matter of your attitude.
Right.
And like another thing is like just because you don't show your face doesn't mean that your verbal communication is like a lot of people regurgitate a lot of work like verbal sayings that they learn on here on this platform, and then just because people are trained to see through that, and 30% or like 10% of communication is verbal. I think that a lot of people are left in the dark. They feel that they feel like they're not in a part of the joke or something. But you just have to study like the different forms of communication, because you could know every conspiracy theory known to man and still like basically present yourself as being not really confident or just something. I don't know. People have their reasons for not liking others.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into why or any reasons like about specific people, because I don't really I reserve my judgment until I see more of that person. And I don't really like to judge a manly off the bat, because I don't know, he doesn't want to be known really, and he doesn't really he's kind of cagey sometimes. So I respect his desire to leave the show and leave everything, but I just think
But
that
the way he
he could have done it. Yeah, he could have done it differently. Like
he would.
if if he needs to like, get to know co-hosts and stuff so that he doesn't misunderstand the joke, that's one thing. But if we're like satanic meat eating cultists, then there's just no way to go. There's no way to go forward from there.
Like, why do we use the title "meat eating cultist"? Well, I'm making a joke out of it. You know, I'm making a joke out of it. You know, the reason I use meat eating cultist is because, well, you want to call us the meat eating cultist? I'm gonna take your words and I'm gonna use them. You know, I'm that much of I like I say you want to play a word game with me? I love playing word games. I guarantee you I do them a lot better. It's like for me, you call me something, I'm gonna be the best one, whatever you called me. No, I'm not a vegetarian. I'm poking fun at being called a meat eating cultist.
Mm.
You know, all hail our Lord and Savior Cthulhu.
Well,
And it hit
Cthulhu would be
up.
like a pescatarian god.
Yeah, okay. Whatever
Fishing.
the
Yeah.
pescatarian, whatever that is.
I wonder if they could if Cthulhu eats like a lot of kelp. Well,
Well,
that's kind of like that's the theme, is that a lot of people basically your MGTOW is being viewed from a lot of different angles and a lot of different theaters, and like you have to wonder why some well-meaning person will like stumble upon MGTOW other than people doing stuff like how we do it, like putting like trying to avoid the algorithm and doing stuff like that, like meat eating cultists. That's the perfect example right there of like people don't normally do that. They think of a title, they think of an intro, outline, subject, predicate, beginning, middle, and end, and you just have a random title that nobody really is going to understand, but they're intrigued by
yeah.
it.
Oh, but before y'all continue, yes, that is me. This is me using a shot collar on myself. Ready?
Oh wow, nice. That's good.
Yeah,
That was. How did that feel?
it kind of stung. It stung a lot,
Mm.
but it felt good. It was fun. Gotta admit, it was fun. It was
Yeah,
very fun. It was like I said, in order to be a meeting in cultist, you have to be able to take pain.
sure. Yeah, I think that like call somebody that. That means like you have come to the you're like made up your mind that you do not want to be eat meat and you do not want to be part of a group. So that like disqualifies you from 99% of like the social groups on earth, which leaves there's only one like the vegan sit in my house all day club. That's the only one that you can belong to if you have this idea in your head about a they who you can identify as meat eating cultists. Look at anybody in the world. Like point, just go to a grocery store. How many of them eat meat, and how many of them are part of a group, like a cultural group? That's what a cult. That's what a cult is. It's just a small cultural group, like a very with like a finite or like knowledge base that which from which they like develop their ideas. You couldn't really call it like ecumenical or understanding. They're kind of like you could consider them a fundamentalist group, but like so you don't want to be part of. You don't want to have. I mean, people's beliefs vary, especially we're in the middle of a platform that's half entertainment and half knowledge base and information, and people can't take a simple joke, let alone have a coherent thought. So it's like it's a gray area, and you have to be able to adapt into that gray area. You can't
You
give
know, yeah.
yeah.
We could send this link to Billy the Goat. Should we bring him in? Billy, you want to go, Billy?
Yeah, sure. I suppose he's as credible to talk about this as anybody else.
I'm gonna use Discord as soon as I find it. God damn, where is it? Billy the Goat.
I
Like I
haven't.
said, it's there if you want. It's there if you want, Billy. Like I said, the way he handled it was immature. You know, as I said before, you were not a teenager. You were not an infant. You were not a toddler. You were not a prepubescent.
Your best
You are a grown adult. You know,
No, amen. I mean, to have this mentality, you have to think of yourself as like impressionable. You have to accept the information, but you can't like let your emotions be attacked whenever you hear something that you don't like to hear. That's a basic part of becoming an adult and facing the world, and instead of turning in from the world.
right?
There's always going to be people that are going to criticize the way you think. It's a part of, and if you decide to, now, not many people think that it's a choice. People relate these psychosomatic symptoms and stuff to like their very core being, and they don't accept that. Like maybe they had a bad experience around eating something that as an obligate, omnivore, whatever humans are classified as. It's like you basically can't be picky. That's just nature. Nature doesn't allow for you to be picky. If you're picky, you die.
Yep.
So if to have a spiritual connection to what you eat is doing yourself a net. It's a net negative in terms of your overall well being because if you pay too much attention to certain things, it's going to drive you insane. Now, like food, yeah, I'm sure people like they're really conscious now. This conscious movement, they pay attention to their bodies, what their bodies tell them, the universe, and the well being, the mental health. But like it's all being confused and convoluted. It's really not just eat whole foods and not don't I mean eat whole foods and if you have fast food around you, try not to abuse it. You don't have to like shut off your cell phone and meditate and stuff. What you put in your body is what you put in your body.
Right.
There's no amount of you can't you can't change the molecules in your body just by sitting on the ground and meditating. Like what you did the damage, and then funny. You see like people who are ex music like former patrons of the music industry and stuff like that, and you like say, oh well, there's the source of your health issues. It's not the food that you're currently like consuming or anything like that. It's the lifestyle that you did, like that they had. You treat your body like crap. You can't just turn vegan and expect it all to go away. You're stuck with the decisions that you made.
Like click
You
your
can't,
heels together and say there's no place like home. All
exactly.
right, Dorothy. I am in Kansas though.
And where's Billy at? Did he say he was going to come?
Yeah, I sent him met the link on Discord. I sent him a link on Discord. I mean, if he shows up, he shows up. 1, 2. Like I said, if y'all want to hit the like button and share and
I can't stay
let
long.
this
I don't like doing those long. I'm not the same guy that I was doing like 20-hour streams a few years ago. I
right,
change, people change, and then it's like some people they just want to be on this YouTube thing forever. They're like they don't want things to get better. They don't want things to change because then they can't bitch and whine about it anymore.
right,
And that's what's sad. That's what makes me not want to do the streaming with certain people because they create an environment that's comfortable. That's like where you're here to stay, and there's no like speed. There's
yeah. The
no
weather in Kansas is nice. It's pretty nice. It's about short wearing weather, about 50 something degrees Fahrenheit.
Are you reading the private chat or the comments? Oh, okay, I see. I'm on.
Um,
Yeah.
hey, Billy the Goat, how you doing today?
Hey, Wind. Hey, Baron. Long time no love.
Hey.
Yeah,
Love
Oh,
it,
we have
love it.
been.
How you been, guys?
The gangs all we'll get most of the gangs all together again. You know.
yeah. It's been crazy. I haven't had Discord, so haven't been able to like reach out. But I've always been thinking. I'm thinking about Billy all the time. Like, wonder how he's doing.
Oh, saucy.
Yeah,
Barbecue sauce.
yeah. I was. Like I said, I'm gonna have fun being called a meat. I'm going to milk being called a meat eating cultist for all it's freaking
Um,
worth.
Billy knows about that? Did he, or
I'm hearing something happening. I don't know the particulars as such, but it's in a generalized kind of way. It's a sort of an argument that's been put forward many times by many people. So in that sense,
well, to
chime in a bit.
highlight one way in which you're being manipulated, but then to completely, I mean, you need a group in order to watch each other's back. And I think this what's happened is just a little bit of isolation has kind of breeded a resentment in that fact. And it's like if one person, if you see a group of people that you think are only eating meat and only subscribing to one worldview, that shouldn't naturally make you like a jealous, resentful person, or it shouldn't just breed like a grudge or a vendetta or something. Like,
No, which indicates that really, if we get down to the nitty gritty, the diet aspect, the meat versus veg aspect, it isn't really the focus of what's. It's like a red herring. There's other things afoot, as it were, and this becomes more of an issue really about moral superiority.
like a Trojan horse. Oh yeah, more yeah. It's a false dichotomy because there's no choice. In certain places, there is no choice, and to say that you have a choice is to be like it's extortion.
Right. So you could make the argument that so a vegetarian type person will normally, if they're so inclined, will make this accusation that you guys are meat eating cultists, right?
Yeah,
And because it's bad, because you abuse animals, and they'll go as far as saying that you grape animals, murder, and you punish and you're mean to animals. But if what I'm saying is true, that this is like a red herring, this is there are other things at play, and this is just the facade. This is the arena that is being set up, then the vegetarians are actually abusing in the spirit of animals by using them as ammunition. So they're hypocritical in that sense.
Mhm.
Like I
To
said,
be a
the way
defender
I
of the animals
yeah,
and use that against
like I
you.
yeah. Well, sorry, like I said before, it's like there are other places in the world that are a lot worse. Like I said, like a lot worse that will literally slit an animal's throat before they butcher it and eat it.
You forget that's not. But like, I get what you're saying. That, but also that's not the. That is not really what the problem is. It's not like who's more brutal. It's about who can, like, who really milks this platform, the meat people or the veg people. Like it's about moral. Not only is it about morality, but it's about like rallying a community together. Because it's not it's no big deal if one person just wants to go there, just wants to like be different than the I guess like the diet or the dietary or the physical what people eat around them. But this is like on YouTube. You have to remember. So it's all about like make it's all about like the court of public opinion. Can you be friends with somebody who forcefully breeds animals for their sustenance, or are you a person who will only allow themselves to be in association with people who consume like I don't know mushrooms or something off the ground, like off a tree bark? You know?
Well, that's where the sort of so-called like mask begins to slip, where you might have some people who are friends with anyone and everyone, doesn't matter what their diet or background is. So they'll be friends with meat eaters as well as vegetarians, as well as vegans, as well as whatever breatharians or something like that. They got no real problem.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
certain other types of people will start to put that pressure on, where it's like, you need to be like me because I am holier than thou. And if you're not, and because I'm pure and with a high superiority moral compass, I'm higher and better than you. Therefore, or ergo,
Which is
you are
it's not
despicable.
always it's not always individually, it's not always how somebody feels, it's how people treat them. And like they are treated like they're gods by certain people, like not like I'm not going to say gods, I don't, but like they're treated as moral, so then they ascribe them, they recognize that they're moral to others, so they have this personal responsibility now attached to their life. Like imagine
Well, I mean, it makes a, it becomes a, it seems to be more of a pertinent issue to the person with the grievances. So, like a meat eater might joke at a vegetarian and be like, "Ah, I know you want a burger. Go on, have some meat." But they're not really, they're not really putting that guilt or shame or pressure or being derogatory or trying to send them to hell, condemn them to hell. Whereas you quite often see, unfortunately, a vegetarian preaching to the meat eater, "Hey, no, you need to get that meat out of your diet because you're going to burn, and I'm going to go to heaven, and you're scum, you're a cultist." So it's kind of like, whoa, where did this come from? I thought what happened to free choice and preferences? So it's okay for you to have the choice, but if I choose to be a meat eater, now I'm going to burn in hell, and I must be in affiliation with Satan. I'm a Satan worshiper because of it.
Hey, the way I see it, I've only had
if it,
two
you
vegan
domain,
friends. Yeah.
anything that they avoid is your domain at this point. That's why the conservatives are. That's why people are upset at conservatives, because like when you refuse to go down like all these different paths of dialogue and you censor people and stuff, it's like, okay, well then if you're not going to have fun on the playground, then I'll just go. It's a huge playground. You just go somewhere else and have fun. That's the great thing about YouTube. You can make your own rules, and if you don't get banned, then you can have a good time with whoever you want. And I
Well,
Right.
that's
and
another
when
area.
if I had a grievance and I see people having fun with people that are they have a different diet than me, they have a different lifestyle than me, they have a different cultural. Maybe they're not even. Maybe we even share the same. Like we both like to game, but it's just like I just refuse to level up in that specific area, and because I don't, that it's like creates a faction. It's just faction rivalry. It's
Well, that's another sort of
certain situations it's unavoidable.
that's another characteristic you're shedding light on there, where for the types of people who don't really give a damn, then they kind of roam freely, unfazed. They're not really bothered what people choose or their lifestyles or whatnot. But for the other type of people who want to control you and dictate how you should be living your life, they have to
They have their output, I
they
guess.
have to kind of invade in a way
Yeah.
and find conflict, because they won't be content just staying in their camp or finding other pastures to graze on. I mean, what's the point of that? They need, if this is a competition of morality, then they need to target people that they can step on and look down upon and criticize them.
Which they automatically attribute like a over concentrated protein diet as like having deficiencies, and they think that intellectual arguments is a good way to infiltrating the meat eaters, which who they claim are like somehow less intelligent because we don't focus on
But
that.
what do we see happen though? So they come in, they get into a clash with they target, they isolate, and they assess, and they work out who will be sort of triggered and who will fight back, and they'll intentionally get into a clash just so that they get booted out or not welcomed, and then they can leave and be like, well, this is like a persecution complex, so they can leave and be like, well, you proved my point, you're all a bunch of crazy cultists dominating this area.
Yep. And then you get live streams like this, you know.
So
like I said,
they got this coming and going dichotomy where it's like they come in, they can't get their way, they can't control everyone, so they kind of pout and decide like, F you guys, I'm out of here. But they don't really actually go, because they need that dynamic of one is better than the other. There's no point in them hanging with their own types of people because they're all apparently superior. So there's no, how can you be the best if everyone is the best around you? So you need to find people that you can bully and step on. And then they're the ones saying that they're the loving, benevolent, caring, compassionate. They have the empathy, and it's like, you
ain't got jack, you ain't got jack and no fornicate,
and or excrement.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
so it doesn't necessarily have to be this meat versus veg. I mean, it could be any kind of belief, really. The same, you'll see the same with like flat Earth versus globe Earth, or you'll see the same with, I don't know, like abusing versus teaching. Like, I'm not an abuser. I'm teaching you. I'm teaching people. It's like we're forced. It's like, isn't that abuse? You know, I'm doing this for you. I'm abusing you for your own good.
You're kind of
like a true abuser.
Masculine counseling and masculine life coaching. That's like is where that dichotomy thrives, because in one hand you should want to like accept some form of pain and suffering, but not punishment from another moral like person, like a pimp or a guy who's like going to teach you how to be a man or something like that. Like, you don't deserve that, but because you're on the pursuit of male self-improvement, and they position themselves as role models or something like that, of that nature, you kind of say, I deserve this, or I need to go through this because this is what. Because think about it, all you're told from older people is that you guys are entitled, you're spoiled, you never have to go through trouble, you never have to go through heartache, you never have to do this, that, and the other. So that the pimp or the life coach just kind of slides right in when you're depressed, when you're crying, or when you're emotional, and they say like, suck it up, get ready. Right?
It wouldn't be so bad if there was some humility in the mix. So it's one thing to be a bit judgmental, to criticize other people. But it's another thing when you do that with a air of, well, I am perfect. There's nothing wrong with me. It's like, hang on. So this isn't really you giving me advice anymore. This is you just being a jackass.
Right.
There's also a part of the of communication in there too, where you have to think like they had to be stupid. They can't really know what's up, but then they put in there like, I know I'm not perfect, just to throw you off, just to make it so that you establish a little bit of empathy with that person, or they make one of their flaws like a core part of their selling point.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not perfect. I'm only human. And it's like, really, because the way you portray yourself and you're
Human
preaching
isn't
on.
attached to any labels or categories at all either. Like you could be like, yeah, I cheat. I'm only human. It's like the humans don't just cheat or something. It's like it's a false equivalency. Or like
It's an excuse.
I'm only human. It's like, okay, humans built the pyramids.
Yeah,
Humans
it's an
like,
excuse.
no,
I
it's
mean, you could quickly test that. It'd be like, so you're only human, right? So you're not perfect. So you admit to making mistakes, and they'll be like, yeah, I admit to making mistakes. Like, right. So could you be wrong then? And they'd be like, no, I'm not wrong. I'm right on this
No.
one. You know, I might make mistakes in other areas, but what I'm saying here right now, I'm correct. You know, and it's like, how do you know? I thought you're. So there's this. You can kind of like test them in a little way, and you'll see that there's this dissonance. The cognitive dissonance will like suddenly emerge, where it's like, hang on.
Yeah.
1 minute you say you're for certain, you're 100% sure, but at the same breath you're saying that, well, you're only human and you're not perfect, so you can't really be 100% sure.
Right. And for me, it's like,
Which is it?
like I said, when I say I'm human, I say I admit that I'm wrong. I could be wrong even in my specialty, you know?
Yeah.
Even,
Well, that's where the line gets crossed, where it's like, look, okay, I might be wrong. I believe that it might help you if you did this or that. And a person given this set of advice leaves it at that. But they don't. This is where you see the difference, where some people will be like that. You know, it's like, hey guys, I reckon it'll be in everyone's best interest if we all save money, sort of thing. And some people will be like, yeah, okay, that sounds like good advice. Other people might be like, well, no, I'm gonna spend it all. I don't really want to save any money. I'm not materialistic.
or like I said, or I got a hankering to put some money in the bank for myself, you know?
Right. Or yeah, like I'm not too bothered. Now the person who's given the advice could
the investor,
could be like content and be like, fine, fair enough. I gave you my advice. You heard me. Thank you for listening.
You guys
considered
know what I
all the best to you, or whatever. But then you got the other one who'll be like, how dare you not take my advice? You really need to be doing what I tell you. You need to be lifting weights, or you really have to be eating a certain way. You have to really be
you have to be donating to me.
The thing is on that note, it's like, first things foremost, it only your advice only works when people want to take it. You know, that's in short. It only works when people want to take it. You know, like I said, I will admit that I'm wrong. You know, like I said, I'm just like I said. I specialize in truck driving. And am I wrong in truck driving? Yes, I am.
That's an interesting one, Wind, because.
But then what about like the whole saying, like people move at their own pace, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like people move at their own pace.
Yeah. So
they do.
That's an interesting one, because it almost could be a form of like I'm not sure what the right phrasing would be, but it's almost like they don't want you to take the advice, so they kind of do your head. They'll preach in such a way that it's like
They basically give you the advice and they don't want you to take it to make themselves look good, look vindicated.
Right, because they still need to maintain this "I'm better than you" dynamic. So
If they
if
get people
you
to
suddenly turned
understand.
around, if you suddenly turned around and became vegetarian,
Yeah.
it'd be like, oh shit, you actually listened to me. Oh no, now what do I do? So they kind of make you sick of it. So they in a way they'll say that, look, I don't want you to eat meat, but I'm gonna harp on about the vegetarianism so much that you'll be so sick of vegetables that you'll continue to eat meat, and in that way I can continue to lecture you.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, they just want something to lecture you about.
Yeah,
Well,
because you're right. Like both of you are right. Like in saying that if you really want to help someone, you would let them find out for themselves. You know, you let them make their own decision for themselves instead of you deciding for them.
well, that's
Right.
okay. Now we're talking about outcome versus opportunity. Like I think it's like they want to always be the one that's telling people to do the right thing, rather than being the person that made everybody do the or that eventually helped people by just being a voice, being an opinion, being and helping people even who don't agree with them to find their own way through a
Yeah.
situation. Like the process of it, they're not really concerned with it. They're concerned with being the guy that helped everybody. And it's like sometimes like I just think the people that would be against somebody who's just mind's not made up yet, haven't formulated their own ideas, still going through the process of sense making, still going through the trauma, and for them to just be like impatiently hurrying them along. No amount of hurrying somebody along is ever going to make them do it. It's
Right.
but they want to be the person that is the hurrier alonger person because sometimes money is over there, attention's over there, more time to procrastinate is in that same arena too. So as long as they can position themselves to be there, they don't have to. People will come to them with things to do. They won't ever have to have any agency because they'll always be a threat. It's almost like forced conscription of your mind.
And it's backed with a sense of resentment because you'll probably start to notice that, hang on, this so-called better lifestyle, which is meant to make everything wonderful, doesn't seem to make this person happy. They're very upset with me. You know, I'm happy doing what I'm doing, but they're the one with the issue and telling me that they're morally superior and should, in theory, be a lot happier and content. So what's wrong with this higher person just leading by example? Doesn't seem to really, they're not really setting a good example. The example they're setting is to be angry, resentful, bitter, aggressive, and condescending. You know, so
That sounds a lot like you're missing a lot of protein.
yeah, like
Good
so.
one.
I mean, I can tell you guys now. I just had my sort of late night dinner. You know, 4 burgers, baked beans, and a ton of onions, and oh, my belly is, you know,
Well, there's you can have problems. You can be too full, or you can be not full enough. And I think people just have different problems, I guess. Like when
Right.
I'm full, it's like I'm kind of an asshole because it's like don't give me anything else that I want to. I don't want to consume anything else in any form. And that can be somebody who's been through a lot of shit in their brain is too full. In the sense that like they just want to come onto this platform and hang out and have a good time.
there's a part of self-esteem, like underpinning all of what we're saying. It's deriving from self-esteem. That big one, as
Yeah.
you know, that
But
main point, where um oh, how was I going to phrase it?
you ain't got to be nice.
Like let's say you two are vegetarians and you're having a go at me for eating my 4 burgers, and you're like, Billy, that's bad. You know, you're gonna die of cancer or something like that. Now, if
Mhm.
I turned around to you guys and said, like, okay, I accept my fate. I realize that what I'm doing might not be socially acceptable or whatever, but I'm okay with that. You know, you might condemn me and call and say that I'm Satan's butthole or something like that. All right, fine.
Yeah, you are.
Then this causes a problem, you know, because it bounces it back to the other to, well, in this case like you guys, because it starts to reflect on your self-esteem, where if that was you, you wouldn't be happy about it. And this is in part why you have to have such a high moral compass, because of the compensatory like lack of self-esteem. So
Yeah,
we were
like
talking about we were talking about morality moments ago, but in Nietzsche's work, slave morality. So this is what will end up happening, where you got someone who sees himself as a slave or a victim. They have a low self-esteem. They don't think much of themselves. So how do they compensate? Is they create this narrative in their mind and say, well, the more I suffer, then the higher I will ascend in heaven when we all die. So I will get my revenge in a way. So these people who are preaching are self-victimizing, and you'll see that happening. They come to these spaces, they start a fight, they get pushed back, and now it's like, whoa, everyone's against me and calling me names. I'm gonna leave, and now I'm the victim, but
but
I'm
also
better than you, and I'm gonna go to heaven, and you're gonna go to hell.
All
So
right.
and that goes past class boundaries too, because you have plenty of people who are, I guess, for all intents and purposes, well off, that are well connected. That seems like that should be more their mentality, because literally everybody is against them. But then you have like a loner who says the world's against them, and then the world, like, I think a lot of people who are anti MGTOW kind of pointed this out about some of the content creators, because it's like, okay, you never leave the house, how can anybody be against you, type of thing.
The thing is like there's a loner mentality. There's two types. There's the ones that were cast out, and are the ones that have walked away. Where the ones that are cast out of society basically is like the whatever society that they go into, it continues to push them away because they continue to do something worthy of them being worthy of them being pushed away out of society into the wilderness. Now, the ones that have walked away
I would agree with that. Yeah.
haven't done anything to basically be pushed out of society. In fact, they've done the complete opposite, and society wants to bring them in. A society typically values who they are, and they keep trying to bring them back into society because they are accepted mostly anywhere they go, but they choose to isolate themselves.
well, this is where it starts getting dangerous, because if you got a victim and a master, or a slave and a master, the master in Babylonian times or whatever, they'll be whipping the slave, so they're kind of tyrannical, right? Or they're abusive to their slaves. But with this victim morality complex, slave, which in modern times we translate as like cry bullies, when the victim gains a bit of power later on, and they become worse than the original master.
Right.
Because at least the original master would be like, look, yeah, I'm going to whip you to work. I ain't going to lie about it. I ain't going to sugarcoat it. Do as I say.
It is what it is.
But
Now,
when the slave gets the power, they have righteousness behind them, and that makes them worse than the actual original master, because what makes them more abusive and more tyrannical.
and I'm going to address Mr. Smith's comment. Now,
So I
yes,
feel
we have to get past the drama, but if we have to be able to do it intellectually, you know.
Well, okay. Well, then I know Nietzsche talked about this. There's another morality that he put forward, but then like in that self-contained example, sort of, that he put out in his books, you kind of, if the point is, like, the moral of the story before, I guess, dialectics and stuff was, don't let yourself become the slave, because you'll be worse than if you were to reform yourself as a master of your own life. For example, like the genocides and stuff and atrocities always happen because somebody with like this slave morality is able to get into power. I think that he has a good point in that it's important to remember that if you are if you even perceive yourself as like having once been accepted by society, to never allow yourself to be rejected because you contributed a certain amount. You are worth something, and not to let people walk all over you. I think that's something that to take away from that, and not to say that, oh, slave morality has more power, so we should just all be slaves because that's what, that's it, we could do the
It's
master's job.
about
That's
it's
right.
about
Yeah.
balance. It's about something that nary one of us are going to ever achieve. That very few of us are going to ever achieve it, and it's balance. So many people, I'd say about maybe a few percent of the population, especially on the working class, are going to ever achieve any form of balance in their lifestyles. It's either going to be all work, or it's going to be home and you lose and you're going to miss out on work. And this is where and the thing is like, we, there's 24 hours in a day, right? You get 8 hours of work, if not overtime, time and a half or whatever, and you have a choice on whether or not you're going to take that time and a half, you know, or you're going to just work the 8 hours and go home. And depending on who you have to go home to, will determine on if you have to work overtime or if you do not have to work overtime. You know,
Yeah, but with what you're saying there, Wind requires an element of like
It's
responsibility,
like a
exactly.
discipline, self control,
Yeah, you have to
maturity.
want to.
You
Yeah,
know,
you have to understand the benefit. You have to be like, you have to understand what good will come from doing something, especially if it's something you don't want to do. You have to be like, either have a good role model that showed you and allows you to make that decision, kind of like how Bill
Mhm.
was talking about,
it's
you know.
like regulating, being
Or
taught
you
how to
have to
regulate
learn it,
yourself.
or you have to learn it over time through
Trial and
experience.
error. Yeah. Hmm.
Trial and error, yeah. But
And
so what
yeah,
ends up happening is um, the slippery slope of like the low self esteem starts to drift down into the victimhood mentality, and we start entering the landscape of narcissistic defense kicking in to save this person. So there is a I already mentioned it before, cognitive dissonance, but the narcissist, that's how they kind of originate. They have two opposing ideas. One, which is, I'm a piece of crap and I don't deserve anything, I'm a loser. And then they have the opposite, which is, oh, I'm the greatest of the great and the best of the best, and I'm
I'm
Superman.
entitled.
So there, you can see how you're talking about trying to achieve a balance, but with these two opposing ideas, there is no balance. They're basically bouncing back from one state to the other. As soon
Right.
as they're a victim, they feel empowered with their victimhood. They got the free pass in life. This makes them superior. But as soon as they're superior, it's like, whoa, 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 I need to be a victim again. So they can never stay in one state for very long. They're constantly fluctuating, and this becomes this dysregulation,
Yep.
which ends up
Yeah.
translating in a very unstable environment, which creates a person to become very emotional, very reactive instead of responsive or responsible. So they're not being like you're talking about trying to bring intellectual points to the argument. That doesn't fit here. There's
No.
no room for it. This is all emotional. Like, who is it that's talking about the drama? We need to get past the drama. The drama um, is smoke and mirrors.
Sure.
It, whatever the drama is, whatever the contention, why ever someone is
Because if
upset,
you think about what
isn't
the word actually means, if you think about what it means, like drama, meaning like kind of like theater, and like if you put a
it
stage on
exactly.
anything can be a drama. Just like
Yeah,
that's why you have starving poets and starving artists nowadays, because they literally anything can be a drama. So when you hear it, it's always the person that says it first. You always got to realize like, what are they focusing on, and is that really
right. Exactly, exactly. And that's why,
All
like,
right.
trying to bring intellectual points or trying to have a debate with them will fundamentally amount to nothing because that is not the point. There isn't The point is not to get to a conclusion. The point is to keep this cycle of bouncing between I feel crap about myself and then going to I am the greatest, and round and round and round they go. And that's the point. So the drama is only fueling this dodgy form of stability. It's not stability, but that's the best they can manage at stability. Is just to keep it going. So it's all smoke and mirrors. Whatever the topic is, whatever the arguments are being put forward, there is much more going on than surface level or what is being presented.
All right. Anybody have any closing statements? Because I typically am trying to keep a lot of these live streams under an hour, or at least as close to an hour as possible.
Cool. Well, I'll add that little just to expand further on this drama idea and what Baron is saying and what David Smith is saying with actors. Yeah. So if you think about it, these are performances. These drama queens, these divas, these people who are reeing and making a big kerfuffle, they're putting on a show, and they are the actor. And really, what they're doing is they're trying to convince themselves of their own convictions, and they just need your participation as cast members to make this performance more elaborate or embellished. So they can't act without someone else to act against. So they need your participation in this dance or this theatrics. And really, what that means for everyone else, what you should be doing is basically just ignoring it and not engaging, to walk away, because they're baiting you into these conflicts in order for you to participate and in a roundabout way to save them or to caretake for them so that they can continue telling themselves these narratives, essentially lying to themselves, because they've got these deep-seated issues with that emanate from the poor structuring or sense of self, and as a result, a lack of self-esteem.
Yeah. And you got anything to add?
Self-esteem is a really important when it comes to communicating, because you'll never focus on the right topics if you're worried about what other people think of you. And so I think generating your own ideas as opposed to finding the most powerful idea and glomming onto it is important to avoid being, I guess, upset with being labeled. Because if you're looking for something and people are telling you should be looking for something else, that's always going to feel bad. You're always going to feel victimized. You're always going to be able to set yourself up against each other or against somebody. And so just come together. Let's just come together, I think, is the moral, and it'll help us all feel better and treat each other better. And so let's come together, and let's come together better as better people. And let's stop the drama. No, I'm just joking. But yeah, let's just be more aware and pay what's going on around us and try to do better. Wind, anything else you got?
The thing is, for me, it's like all it is you as a man have to be in control of your emotions at all times. One slip up, it doesn't only affect you, because men are seen as natural born leaders at one point in history. The thing is, we have to get past our own. Many of us have to get past ourselves in order to grow, and basically having the drama, basically partaking and producing the drama is not going to help, unless you're in an acting business. But even then, you've got to know when the camera's off, the acting has to stop. This is like I said, this is Red Pill in the Wind. Check out these channels, Baron Yam and Billy the Goat. I'm gonna put their like I said, go ahead and plug your channels if you want.
Thanks.
I'd also like to thank MGTOW Cowboy, Corey Steele, Billy the Goat, who's up there, Baron Yam, and Mr. David Smith. I'd like to thank you for visiting, and all the unknown people for just basically showing up to the chat, and not you participated something. Like I said, any outros.
Thank you, Win, for allowing me to plug. I'll just leave people to find it for themselves. And thank you, gentlemen, for bringing me on for this topic. Good to catch up with you guys.
Hey, it's anytime.
Yeah. Thanks, Win, for letting us have your platform. It's really been something that I think is underestimated by people. Not that many people would let something like this go off, and so appreciate everybody out there doing the best that they can, and look forward to hearing from everybody in the future. So stay in touch. Just stay on this. Post comments and like and comment and all the fun stuff. Thank you.
And now we're going to leave out on something on an entertaining note. Ready? Hey, gotta have fun. All right, gent. Good night.
Everybody.
10-4.